Tonight, in the span of 8 days, 2 First Nations men in Northern Ontario are shot dead following interactions with police.
At the end of the day, this is going to lay the groundwork for us to actually start the process of getting a courthouse in our community.
A First Nation in Northern Manitoba is set to sign an MOU to help tackle issues with First Nations justice.
We need to make a difference. We need to change how things are being done out there.
And a grassroots group that aims to help our relatives stay safe in Winnipeg is celebrating a milestone. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. For the second time in a little over a week, a First Nation man in Northern Ontario is dead following a police-involved shooting. According to an Ontario Provincial Police press release, on July 31st, members of the Sioux Lookout Detachment, quote, interacted with an individual armed with a knife on Wapakika First Nation. During the interaction, an officer discharged their firearm. As a result, the armed individual was pronounced deceased at the scene. Ontario Special Investigations Unit is now investigating the incident. The SIU and the OPP are also investigating the July 22nd fatal shooting of a man in Deer Lake First Nation, 580 kilometers northwest of Thunder Bay. Family members have identified the deceased as 40-year-old Eric Nothing. Nothing is the son of the late Bruce Frog, who was shot and killed by an OPP officer at Anishinaabe Park in Kenora in June 2024. Last month, the SIU cleared police of any criminal wrongdoing in Bruce Frog's death. According to the SIU, Anishinaabe-Aski Police Service officers went to a residence in Deer Lake First Nation with a warrant for Nothing's arrest. One NAPS officer discharged his firearm at the man. Officers provided first aid, and Nothing was taken to a nursing station where he died. You can find more on this story on our website. On August 3rd, 1871, Treaty 1 was signed by the Anishinaabe, Swampy Cree, and the Crown at Lower Fort Garry in southern Manitoba. It became the first of 11 numbered treaties between the Crown and Indigenous peoples. Ahead of the 154th anniversary of the signing, Treaty 1 nations held a commemorative event with a ceremony, teachings, and a feast. Our Sierra Bettens joins us from Lower Fort Garry to tell us more.
This Sunday will mark the 154th anniversary of the signing of Treaty 1, right here at the Lower Fort Garry National Historic Site. This morning, we heard a speech from former Chief Dennis Whitebird about the significance of the signing of the treaty and the legacy that it carries today.
The treaty is, of course, a major part of our history. But as First Nations people, we have been using this territory, this land, for thousands of years. It was about sharing the land. And that's what treaty meant for First Nations people. Because we have a relationship to the land, that we have responsibilities of stewardship to look after the land.
Then, visitors were able to head over to a tea teaching, which was hosted by Carl Smith, a member of the Broken Head Ojibwe Nation. And after that, Parks Canada interpreter Marc-Andre Belcourt gave APTN a demonstration of Lower Fort Garry's Treaty Tiles activity.
We're standing just meters away from where this drawing was created, and this is the only depiction that we have of the treaty negotiation process back in late July, early August of 1871.
This Sunday, August 3rd, Lower Fort Garry will be hosting its own Treaty 1 celebration. Admission is free, so be sure to come down. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thanks, Sierra. Amid ongoing debates over the existence of Matei communities in Ontario, the Waboon Tribal Council has released a report that says there were no such communities within their traditional territory. And now the Matei Nation of Ontario organization disputes the Tribal Council's report. Here again is APTN Sierra Bettens to break it down for us.
Earlier this month, Waban Tribal Council released a 152-page report disputing the existence of Métis communities in their territories north of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Waban is made up of 6 First Nations who signed Treaty 9 in the early 20th century. They commissioned historian Leila Inksetter to examine the presence of Métis communities in the area before 1906. Inksetter's report concluded no evidence of one. Jason Batiste is the executive director of Waban Tribal Council.
This is not the first report. This is one amongst dozens that are saying the same thing. And it is unfortunate that we have to go through these exercises of confirmation.
The Métis Nation of Ontario has since rejected the report. In a statement published last Wednesday, the MNO argued that half-breed script petitions from the area support the existence of the historic Abitibi inland Métis community. But Batiste maintains the report's legitimacy.
Dr. Inksetter goes into very specific versions of why. Small trading posts with 2 and 3 people, that doesn't make a community. Simply saying that half-breeds are now Métis doesn't make them Métis.
Batiste believes the MNO's assertion that a Métis community exists in Waban's traditional territory is a threat to the Waban Tribal Council's treaty rights. In March 2023, Waban launched a judicial review of Canada and the MNO's Métis Self-Government Recognition and Implementation Agreement that was signed in February of that year.
We're talking about First Nations land and interference in our negotiations and discussions and the sovereignty with our Crown partners. This is about protecting the rights of the First Nations who signed Treaty Number 9.
APTN reached out to the MNO for an interview. In response, Brittany Matheson, Senior Director of Texture Communications, said no one from the MNO was available and directed APTN to the statement posted on MNO's website. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The John Howard Society is set to sign a memorandum of understanding with Norway House Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. The MOU will help tackle issues with First Nations justice, with a potential on-reserve courthouse on the horizon. Julia Ross spoke with members of the community and the John Howard Society.
Monday, August 4th will be a historical day for the Norway House Cree Nation, with a memorandum of understanding being signed with the John Howard Society.
At the end of the day, this is going to lay the groundwork for us to actually start the process of getting a courthouse in our community.
Gilbert Fredette wants to change the system. He's senior advisor to Norway House Chief and Council. He's also a board member with the John Howard Society, a Canadian group founded in 1867 to help people before, during, and after they are sent to jail.
What I'm sick of seeing is the Court of King's Bench flying into our communities, setting up shop with picnic tables, having a court for the day, then they fly out of there. And yet their sheriff vans are waiting to take our kids away and our young people away all the time. And we have to put a stop to that.
Lisa Muswagen is also a Norway House band member working with John Howard. She says more action is needed to help the healing process and decolonize the justice system.
With my family members who currently live in Norway House, what we're seeing is a lot of addiction issues, crime, and no services, no way to help. There's a disconnection in the communities. Other people don't have the answers. You can support us, but we have the answers for healing. And that is through connection and community. That's what I feel that we lost through colonization, is we lost that connection to our people.
Fredette says there is a way to help fix the North's justice system.
An actual courthouse in our community is going to be beneficial in so many ways. It'll give us, our young people and families, the dignity to walk into a building that is on our traditional area instead of having it at a makeshift, courthouse that basically is gone the same day. And like I said, the sheriff's vans are waiting.
Aidan Enns is with the John Howard Society. He's going to Norway House to sign the courthouse MOU with Chief and Council.
We began a conversation about how some of the resources and programs and things that we do here in the John Howard Society could fit up north in Norway House. And that began a conversation. And now it's led to the next stage where we're at the brink of departure.
Fredette believes the agreement will lead to much-needed healing in his community.
Having the new venture in Norway House is going to give us the potential to bring it and make it into our own, to help our community members, to help our youth, to help the programming, so we can slow down the incarceration rates with our men and women and start the healing process.
Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Residents in and around the village of Lytton, British Columbia, have been posting alarming video and photos of the Cantalver Bar Fire. It is now more than 1,000 hectares in size. The fire is burning south of Lytton on the west side of the river. Several First Nations communities are under evacuation alert. Lytton itself is safe for now, but the threat is deeply unsettling for residents who've barely begun rebuilding from the 2021 fire that destroyed the community. Well, we're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you'd like to share, you can send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, you can go to our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. In Nova Scotia, there is a large disparity in the amount of money people receive for income assistance if you live on reserve. Efforts continue to try and change that. We'll have that story and more after the break. Welcome back. An important piece of infrastructure in Whitehorse recently got relicensed to operate for the next 2 decades, and impacted First Nations had their say in the matter. Sarah Connors tells us more.
The Whitehorse Dam behind me has been operating for close to 70 years, and now, after a public hearing last month, it's set to keep running for at least 20 more. Built in 1958, the Whitehorse Dam is operated by Yukon Energy. The dam generates a significant amount of year-round power for Whitehorse and surrounding communities. But local First Nations have long raised issues about the dam, especially its impact on Chinook salmon, whose numbers are in decline. They're concerned the fish ladder is ineffective and its turbines kill or injure fish, factors the Yukon Water Board took into account when making its decision. The dam's new license requires it to repair and maintain the fish ladder, submit an updated operations, maintenance, and surveillance manual, and conduct a yearly safety inspection. It must also submit a timeline for developing plans for things like alternate fish passage options by the end of this year. The dam still requires authorization from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. Its new license will be in place until July 30th, 2045. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Thanks, Sarah. Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq chiefs say the income assistance disparity is keeping Mi'kmaq families in poverty, where people receive as little as $13 a day to purchase food, which is much less than what people off reserve receive. A Mi'kmaq group called Don Edley Debidimk represents 12 of the 13 Mi'kmaq nations in Nova Scotia. They were in negotiations with Canada to establish a self-governing agreement to close the gap in income, but Ottawa stopped negotiations last year. James Michael is the co-lead negotiator. He says Canada must raise the income assistance to match provincial levels. We spoke with him earlier. James, thanks for being with us. Can you tell us exactly what we're talking about when we say there's an income assistance disparity?
What we're talking about, Dennis, is that the federal government is mandated to match provincial comparability in Nova Scotia, well, across Canada, I guess. So currently, Nova Scotia, people living on reserve fall way below what people off reserve are getting in Nova Scotia. So what it's really about is just upholding the rule of law, and so Canada has this Treasury Board authority from 1964. The Federal Court of Appeal 10 years ago recognized it and said, yes, those are the rules of the game. So 10 years later, and we're still struggling with matching provincial comparability on reserve and off reserve.
What do you think the income assistance disparity has meant for people living on reserve?
Oh, I tell you, there's a lot of people living in deep poverty here. And if I could just use one statistic, a single boarder on reserve gets by on $4,800 a year, roughly. The same person off reserve would be entitled to $7,700 a year. Yeah, that's just a basic single person. To put that into context, MPs just got a pay raise of between $8,000 and $16,000 for this year. So I'm hoping people are not being tone deaf, but it is serious down here. I mean, it's a crushing issue facing a lot of people.
No kidding. Way to put it into perspective there. The Mi'kmaq were in negotiations with Canada and Nova Scotia to develop a self-governing agreement for the Mi'kmaq to deliver income assistance on reserve to help close that gap. Why did Canada halt those talks?
Well, we're not quite sure. I know the caretaker, the election, there was some build up to the election. There was a lot of kind of people stepping back or, hitting the status quo. I think that carried over to post-election, and there's some signs that Canada is getting serious again as far as resuming negotiations. And to be fair to Canada, I mean, there has been some movement on here towards helping our people. For instance, Canada has committed to match Nova Scotia's disability supplement to people on social assistance on reserve that have a disability. Currently, that sits at $318 a month. So that is some promise to people. As well, there is case management that Canada has committed to help people try to get off of social assistance.
Now, the Mi'kmaq Chiefs passed a resolution earlier this month for Canada to return to talks to finalize the self-governing agreement this year. Yes. Are you hopeful the income disparity will be changed soon?
I'm hopeful. I mean, there's a lot of people that I see every day up here in Indian Brook or Indian Reserve UC too that just can't wait for us to meet provincial comparability. I mean, that's the difference between buying highly processed food and buying fresh produce maybe for a lot of people.
Right. It's important stuff, James. Really appreciate you taking some time for us here.
Sure, no problem.
Time for a quick break, but first, here's a look at what our reporter Annette Francis is working on for next week.
Honey, I'm Annette Francis. I'm at Thunderbird Park in Wikwemikong First Nation, where preparations are underway for the annual Cultural Festival. The event kicks off this evening with an arts and music festival featuring Wikwemikong's own Crystal Shawanda and headliner William Prince. Over the weekend, the excitement continues with a competition powwow and the crowning of Miss Wikwemikong. I'll have more on this in the coming days.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Robert Hardesty sent in a cool picture from the recent gathering of drummers in the northeastern corner of British Columbia. Love to see those Dene drummers. Thanks for sharing, Robert. You can send your pictures to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sunny and 26 in Fredericton, cloudy and 24 for Halifax. 18 under sunny skies in Kuujjuaq, 15 in Nain. Sunny and 29 in Montreal, showers and 24 in Val-d'Or. 25 with the sun out in Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay, 27 in Ottawa. 29 and sunny in Thunder Bay, cloudy and 28 in Kapuskasing. 31 with showers in God's Lake, 30 with sunny skies in Norway House. Sunny and 33 in Winnipeg, 30 in Dauphin and Brandon. 27 with rain in Regina, sunny and 33 in Saskatoon. 24 with the sun out in Uranium City, 33 in Meadow Lake. In northern Alberta, sunny and 31 in High Level, sun's out and 33 in Fort McMurray. Showers and 31 in Edmonton, 25 with rain in Lethbridge. 20 and sunny in Vancouver, sunny and 29 in Kamloops. Sun's out and 28 in Prince George, 21 under sunny skies in Dease Lake. 22 with the sun out in Old Crow, Rock River, and Mayo. 22 and sunny in Yellowknife. 26 with the sun out in Norman Wells. 8 in Sax Harbor. 17 and sunny in Pawlatuck. 14 in Baker Lake and Chesterfield. 3 in Resolute. 11 in Joe Haven. A grassroots outreach group helping women to stay safe in Winnipeg is celebrating their 1-year anniversary. Morgan's Warriors was created in honor of Morgan Harris, a First Nation woman who was murdered in 2022. Her cousin Melissa Robinson created the group to help vulnerable women get the supports and community presence they need to be safe. To celebrate the anniversary, Robinson and her crew of volunteers put on a barbecue for anyone looking for a meal downtown. She says the past 12 months have only made it more clear how much their help is needed.
You know, myself and my niece Elle said, we need to make a difference. We need to change how things are being done out there. So let's start our own group in honor of my cousin, in honor of her mom. You know, fill those gaps where she fell through, and serve the community as a whole, and do whatever it takes. You know, we are not a 7 to 11 kind of organization. You know, if we go out at 7, sometimes we're gone till 4 a.m. You know, it just depends. But we saw the needs greatly increase from the 3 days to 4 days to now we're out almost 7 days a week.
Great work they do. Now for something fun or perhaps a bit unsettling to end our newscast. A fashion artist from Southern California has beaded a medallion based on a creature from the 1979 science fiction horror movie Alien. The parasitic monster known as the facehugger is recreated here in antique glass seed beads on brain tan hide by Native American artist Jamie Okuma. In the movie, the facehugger implants an alien life form into the unsuspecting hosts, which erupt and become aliens known as xenomorphs. She created it for Megazy Penson-O, writer and producer of Reservation Dogs, for his new television series, Alien Earth, coming out this month on Disney+. Penson-O wore the medallion at the show's London premiere, notably around his neck, instead of his face. And before we go, we'll check in with our Kim Sullivan to see what's on tonight's Nouvelle Nationale. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Dennis. Tensions over Bill 97 are rising in Quebec, and our cameraman headed north to meet with a group now blocking access to sawmills in protest. But tonight's show, I have to say, is all about the music. We meet the makers behind Meshchuk Guitars. We talk to the organizer of Innu Nikamu Festival, a major event in a small community. And we catch up with the director of Montreal's First Peoples Festival. Join us tonight en français, 6:30 Eastern.
Good stuff. Thanks, Kim. You can catch Kim right here in about 60 seconds from now. It's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Friday, August 1st. Join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for APTN National News Weekend. You can also visit our website for news anytime. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. Have a great night.